Steph, where'd the jacket come from?
I think it came from Nike. Shout out to Nike. Thank you. It's nice.
Your players were just talking about how they felt like the offensive fluidity that they found today came from the defensive end of the stops they got on the end of the floor. And I know you've talked about slowing down runs. How much do you feel like those two things came in tandem today and led you to this win?
Yeah, they did in the second half. You know, I didn't feel like we did that in the first half to end quarters in particular. But our defense can't be dictated by our offense. It has to be the other way around. You know, we had some lapses in the first quarter. We had some lapses into the second. And we can't have those. You know, we've got to maintain elite execution on both ends. I thought the second half the ball moved better. Look, there's no defense for turnovers that lead to scores, and I think they had 13 points off of turnovers in the first half. We did a much better job of taking care of the ball, and that's our first line of defense, and we did a much better job of that in the second.
Kelsey tonight, not the most efficient night, but still an impactful night, and that, especially in that fourth quarter. Is there any kind of message you need to say to her? Anything that we still need you to keep shooting and keep going, or anything like that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just telling her, like, let it fly. It's gonna go. You know, and then helping her recalibrate when she's attacking the rim and just staying on balance. I thought there are times where she's taking a lot of contact. And she gets off balance and she goes off of one leg instead of off two, and just really reiterate to her, particularly you know, in those moments, go off of 2 feet, stay balanced, go strong to the rim. That's when she makes her best reads and her best decisions, and then to keep shooting it from outside. You know, she made some big ones when we needed them.
Steph, what stood out to you about the point of attack defense for you guys individually? It seemed like everyone kind of, the best they could, own their matchup and made things, like you were saying, very difficult, especially there late in the game.
Yeah, I mean, they're a tough team to defend. I mean, Jackie Young is one of the best one-on-one players, obviously Asia and what she brings to the table, Jewel as well. And Dana Evans is fast and gets downhill. And we really challenge their pride, their individual defensive pride. You got to guard your guard. You got to guard your matchup. We got to guard 2 with 2 in the pick and roll. You know, we've got to do a better job of locking into that consistently. And I felt like individually, for the most part, we held true to that. There were still some breakdowns for various reasons, but I thought we did a much better job, and we got better tonight.
Yeah, I know you've talked a lot about consistency, stacking days. Just what do you guys need to do these next couple days leading into Chicago to keep that consistency?
I mean, we have to just understand the urgency and attention to detail that it takes. We don't have the luxury of having breakdowns, of having lapses. You know, we have to understand the sense of urgency that it takes with each possession. You know, one possession can change a ballgame, and we got to understand and value that. You know, and also, you know, we played some heavy minutes tonight, and the challenge is, if you're tired, you got to ask for a sub, right? If you're tired, you got to ask for the sub, and then our bench has to be ready. You know, I felt like our bench in the second half was really good defensively. In the first half, I didn't feel that way. You got to be ready to come in, and you got to be ready to guard your matchup and execute the game plan. And you know, we have depth for a reason. We've got quality depth, and we've got to be able to use it. So if fatigue is a factor in execution, then they just need to ask for a sub, and I'll get them out and get them back in.
We've talked about it already a couple times this season already, but what's it say about the confidence she has, confidence that you guys have in her to knock down that big shot at the end of the game?
Yeah, I mean, Ari's been big for us. She really has, and you know, I really challenged her in that second half, in that fourth quarter, to be the floor general that we needed, to set the tone, not just offensively but defensively. We were in incorrect pick and roll coverage one possession, and you know, that's a point guard's responsibility when they're on the floor to make sure that we're in that. And she takes ownership of that, and I felt like in that moment, and she struggled shooting the ball in the last game against New York, and she was in there after practice getting extra shots yesterday. So she's putting in the work. She understands momentum. She understands timing. She understands the flow of the game, and that was just a big shot, and she shot it with confidence. There was no hesitation, and that's what I want to see.
When it comes to the momentum swings and getting too high, too low, and allowing things to snowball, I guess, just as a coach, is there anything you can do to try and stifle that or control that, or is that something that it's largely up to the players to kind of sort through and figure out themselves?
Yeah, I mean, coaches, we can't control that. We can't control anything like that. I mean, the biggest thing is just reiterate to them to stay neutral. Reiterate that this is a game of runs. You know, we've got to shorten theirs and we've got to extend ours. To encourage when we need encouragement, and to get in them when we need to get in them. And that's just, learning to have a feel for those moments. And, I felt like we did a better job tonight of when we needed to get stuck. I didn't feel like that at that stretch into the early second quarter. Didn't feel like that, but we regrouped, and I felt like we did a much better job in the second half, and we grew. We got better.
Thank you, Steph.